Welcome back to a GTD. It's NASCAR time and it's Talladega week. It should be a national holiday, but it's not quite yet. We had the off week for Easter. There was some great racing at Rockingham between the Xfinity and the Truck Series, but Cup is back and they're back in Alabama this weekend. So looking forward to it. Before we get into our race preview, let's do a little quarter season check-in here.
Let's.
After the first 9 races, let's take stock of the point standings. As for a lot of the season, it's been all Hendrick up at the top, but Gibbs guys are starting to break in.
Especially Denny Hamlin. Christopher Bell had the run earlier in the year where he won 3 in a row, and Denny Hamlin has now been right there. I mean, he's been the guy the last few weeks. I know Kyle Larson had the big win at Bristol right for the break, but Denny Hamlin he's got, I would argue, the most momentum in the sport right now. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you can never count Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell out at this point.
And I feel like William Byron's been completely forgotten about, but he's still leading by 30 points.
Yeah,
and that's considering a couple off days. Like, he didn't really have speed at Bristol. Obviously, he got kind of robbed at Darlington.
Yeah. Very similar year to what Chase Elliott put together last year.
Yeah, just not a ton of wins outside of obviously the big one at Daytona. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott round out the top 5 right now. And then this back half of the top 10 is, I feel like, a lot of guys who have been running either under what we expect or way over what we expect and have not been able to capitalize.
Yeah.
Ryan Blaney's in 6th. We know about the Penske technical issues. That guy's got to break through eventually.
Yeah.
Tyler Reddick is in 7th, and I was looking at this going, man, I feel like Tyler Reddick's just not really on it like he was last year. However, he has more points at this time last year than he did last year, or this time this year than he did last year. You remember Tyler Reddick, once we hit about June in Kansas, dude locked in.
Well, I was going to say, it really was winning Talladega that kind of started his season.
And he absolutely got off. So I don't think you're going to see the same thing from him at Talladega this week, outside of his not really an elite superspeedway racer. But how about his teammate right behind him? Bubba Wallace continues his career year. I think he's been absolutely incredible so far this season.
If I didn't have the points in front of me and you asked me which 2311 drivers higher in points, I would say Bubba Wallace too.
He has so many stage points this year too. Speaking of stage points, it's Joey Logano in 9th. Who is right near the top of the series.
One top 10? Yeah, top 10.
He is 4th in laps led so far this season. Kyle Larson's now massively taken the lead in that after leading about 400 at Bristol. But Logano is in 9th. And then Alex Bowman rounds out the top 10. A guy that honestly could still be top 3 in points right now if it weren't for the engine letting go at Bristol and his kind of kerfuffle of a week at Darlington.
Yeah. No, he's been. We saw this coming in the playoffs last year. He put on a clinic last year in the playoffs. Had the penalty that knocked him out of the playoffs and put your champion back in. But ever since really the playoffs started last year, he's been on a heater. And he's 10th right now. I think he'll finish higher than that. Just because I don't think anyone behind him really. I mean, maybe Chris Buescher's behind him, but other than that, he's either 10th or higher going into the playoffs. But right behind him, you have Ross Chastain, who another quiet year, just sitting in 11th.
He's been
consistent.
Super consistent, though. I think his last 3 finishes are 7th, 6th, and 6th.
Yeah, and the guy right behind him, Chris Buescher, same thing.
Yeah.
Just there at the end.
The thing with Chastain, too, is you look at where his teammates are. Daniel Suarez is 27th in points, and SVG, admittedly not an oval guy, is 34th.
Yeah,
so the
but
fact
you say
that
not an oval
is
guy.
Almost top 10 in points,
I
think is a massive achievement. You mentioned Chris Buescher. Chase Briscoe really starting to, I think, kind of settle in. He's been fast the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
And then you really get into the midst of the playoff bubble here. Your last 2 in currently, Ryan Preece, who I think has massively exceeded expectations so far this year. And then Kyle Busch are currently occupying the last spot because Josh Berry is locked in because of his win.
Yep.
And the first 2 out, actually, I would say the first 3 out, you would never guess, I don't believe. If I asked you who the first 3 drivers are out of the playoffs, because they are A.J. Allmendinger.
I'd put A.J. Allmendinger in the playoffs.
With a win, not pointing his way in.
I don't know.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at a team that most people are only about 50% sure exists.
And will make it. And will make it through the end of the season.
Yeah. And then Michael McDowell, who is kind of the inverse Carson Hocevar right now, where it feels like McDowell doesn't have speed and ends up with good finishes, and it feels like Hocevar has a rocket and then falls off, which was absolutely robbed of a top 3 finish by his crew forgetting how a jack works.
Yeah, and your big time players that are way down, I would say Austin Cindric in 22nd.
Yeah.
He started off hot, and we have more.
And keep in mind the 50-point penalty from Coda.
Right, and we have Talladega coming up. We have Daytona again. We have Atlanta's in the playoffs. Daytona's in the playoffs too now, isn't it?
Is it?
I think Daytona might be in the playoffs. But anyways, he's got Talladega this weekend at least to make.
And did win at Gateway last year, which is now in the playoffs again. All his tracks are gone.
So he's got to do well this weekend at Talladega.
Ty
very
Gibbs,
good at
I think
superspeedway.
deserves a mention. He's really bounced back the last couple weeks. Had great speed at Bristol.
Yeah, no more Ty Gibbs hate watches, y'all.
Yeah,
I've seen you disgusting Ty Gibbs hate watcher. I see you.
Yeah, he's really bouncing back, doing well. John Hunter Nemechek, I think, deserves a shout out. I know he's 21st in points, but he's been running very solid this year, especially for what we saw from Legacy. I think Justin Haley and Carson Hocevar still have outside shots and maybe a playoff berth. They've been rocketing up the point standings recently.
I think Austin
especially
Dillon.
Hocevar.
I think Dillon's a winning in, like we saw at Richmond last year.
Yeah, because he's so good at the short, flat tracks. I wouldn't even be surprised if RCR turned up at Loudon and he was good there.
But now let's talk about the main issue.
Disaster.
Yeah. The number 6, Brad Keselowski.
Is 31st in points.
Yes.
A quarter of the way through the season. And
2 top 10s.
Yeah, he is really on the struggle bus. Let's see. AJ Allmendinger has 190. Yeah, he is 66 points out of a playoff spot right now. And this car, the way RFK qualifies, he doesn't have the speed to get stage points.
Yeah.
Because RFK is not a heavy qualifying team except for Darlington randomly where they turned up elite in qualifying. But something is wrong with that team. I refuse to believe, because I know Brad is not at his peak, but last year he was still a very good driver.
Yeah, won a race last year, won Darlington.
Yeah, so I don't think Brad has just suddenly forgot how to drive a race car this season. I don't know if it's a him issue. I don't know if it's a Jeremy Bullins issue. I don't know if it's just the way the 6 team is running versus the other 2 guys, but it's not working.
I think this weekend at Talladega is a monumental weekend for the season. You're coming off the off week. You had 2 full weeks to prepare and get ready and get back on the saddle. Talladega, Brad Keselowski leads in active drivers and wins at this track. Yeah. He's great at super speedways, whether it's Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, whatever you want to call them. He's fantastic there. This is a huge weekend for him and this team.
Absolutely.
He's got to come out and perform. And, let's say he doesn't win, but he builds momentum and goes from here. He cannot just fumble this weekend.
I think if you're the 6th team, your goal has to be, I know Brad is usually a more run-in-the-back type guy at the start of these races if he doesn't qualify well. I don't think you can afford to do that this week.
No, you've got to get in front of the trouble.
You have to maximize stage points if you're Brad Keselowski.
Well, not even that. At a track like Talladega, you got to make your own destiny and get in front of the wreck that's going to happen.
And if you look at how, like I said, how their qualifying's been this year, where else is he going to get stage points, though?
Yeah.
I think it has to be here if they try to.
I agree.
And then
Speaking of here.
Yeah.
Dega.
Let's
get into it. Talladega Preview. We will both be there for work and media related stuff. Some very exciting things to come. So let's just get right into it. I mean, it's Talladega. You've seen it. You've watched it. You've loved it. You know how the racing works.
You hate fuel saving.
Unless it's 4 wide. It's cool for a little bit.
That was cool. But
So I don't think, and we saw with the 500 this year, they did not feel safe.
No,
they did a little bit, but it wasn't to the extent that we saw last year.
What I will say is, someone please stop. I know it's Talladega, not Daytona. Watch over Ryan Preece.
Yeah.
Poor guy can't take any more catastrophic flips.
Yeah. Hopefully Talladega he's still cool with. I think if you're going to call out a guy for Talladega, it's got to be Corey LaJoy right now, right?
Is he even racing this week? Did he stack enough pennies?
If he is, I think he's the last guy to get up and over there.
Yeah,
I think so.
I believe you're right.
Maybe Burton, but he's not racing this weekend in the Cup.
I don't know. I feel like if I'm just looking at guys that would flip, I feel like John Hunter Nemechek or Eric Jones.
Any of these guys could flip.
They would flip. They would be flip guys.
Yeah. But let's get into our picks. Who do you have?
Well,
and what Ford is it? This is what I meant to say.
It is a Ford.
Yeah.
Good guess. And it's the Ryan Blaney Ford. I think everything would tell you if a driver's having horrible luck, Talladega is not the place where they turn it around.
No.
However, most of Ryan Blaney's issues have been either the engine exploding, the engines are restricted, or pit crew mishaps. And the pit crew plays about the least role here as they do most of anywhere. All you got to do is make sure you put the fuel in it, and then if the stage breaks, maybe put tires on if you feel like it. I think this obviously is one of Blaney's best tracks. Over his last 6 races, he has an average finish of 12.5, which by Talladega standards might as well be like 3.
Yeah.
And I think he is absolutely one of the best plate racers in the Cup Series right now, right up there with his 2 teammates, Cindric and Logano. And I think those three are going to be at the front all day. I think Blaney finally gets his win this season.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think I chose Blaney 2 out of the last 3 races, and
it's not gone well.
No, I mean it should have gone well, and then it didn't go well. That's just
the
been.
Ryan Blaney
I was about to say that's just been Ryan Blaney. Yeah, yeah, that's Ryan Blaney's season so far. But yeah, very consistent at this track. I think he's going to be fine, do well. I'm taking a Ford as well. I am taking RFK Ford, but it's not Brad Keselowski.
It's
I'm
Ryan
sorry,
Preece.
Brad. No, not a bad. I mean, there's probably a better guess than Brad right now. But I'm going Chris Buescher. He was my preseason championship pick.
Yeah, that's going well.
But hey, you win some, you win some, and you lose some. But Chris Buescher, I think gets it done. I think the Fords are just really strong. Penske's especially strong. But you've seen when they pit by manufacturer. That happens at Daytona, but it gets mumbo jumboed up. Mm-hmm. At Talladega, it seems like it really works. Like they really try to pit by manufacturer.
Well, there's so much more runoff area onto pit road.
Well, there's so much more room on the backstretch to get lined up. So I think that he just gets in with that Penske group and they kind of take off, and then he's just in the right place at the right time, like you need to be here, and he pulls it off.
What's huge for Chris Buescher too is with the grandstands at Talladega, his entire hometown could be here.
That is true. Actually, there's a lot more hometowns that can be there. It's massive.
It's large.
It's bigger. Not only is it more populated than the Vatican during race weekends, it's bigger than the Vatican City. Fun fact, if you did not know that.
Yeah.
That's just to put it in perspective.
Every week, every Talladega race week, there's the serious, this could fit inside Talladega, and there's the state of Vermont could fit inside.
Yeah, but no, the Vatican's legit. That can fit inside, and it's more populated during race weekend with all the people in the stands, the infield, and the surrounding campgrounds. But yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's all about the dark horses. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the defending champion of this race. I was there to see him win.
Okay,
who do you think?
This is one thing I do want to ask before we talk dark horses, because I heard it brought up the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. Do you think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. of the current NASCAR field is a top 5 plate racer?
No.
I think he's right on the edge.
Yeah.
I think
I go top 8.
I would actually give it to him. I think especially at if you would ask me just Talladega, I think he's there for sure. Because something about this place usually locks in.
But you can't. But he's got the 500 win.
Yeah, but that was
recently.
Since he moved away from Roush, obviously the 500 win, but he's been much better at Talladega than Daytona.
Yeah.
But still, I think the fact that you're saying that, I think I give it to him.
Is Brad Keselowski a top 5 plate driver right now?
I think he's...
Because here's my thing. We've only had 2 plate tracks this year. So that's only 2 against his record. So he's got to be still top 5.
I would say just skill at a plate track, regardless of the car. I put Brad, Ricky, Logano, Blaney, Cindric. And I know...
Cindric.
I mean, look at what he's done.
But is that recency biased?
Well, I can only judge him from what he got in the Cup Series. He instantly won the Daytona 500.
Good point. So what is right now? Last 5 years?
Yeah.
Last 3 years?
Let's say 3 to 5.
Okay.
Because usually that's where you calculate recent average finish, the last 3 to 5 years. So I would say that's my top 5. I would say just missing out are Chase Elliott, but he's been a little off recently. William Byron's good at these plays, but he's kind of a Daytona 500 merchant. And then I think Denny Hamlin has to be in the conversation, but I feel like Denny Hamlin never managed to do anything at Talladega.
Yeah.
He's purely a Daytona guy. So I think it's the Penske guys, it's Brad, and it's actually Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Hey, I don't hate that.
Because you look at his equipment versus the other guys, he should not be controlling the pack.
Yeah, my top 5 is BJ McLeod in the non-painted car, BJ McLeod in the all-black car, BJ McLeod in the red, white, and black car, and then BJ McLeod in the backwards hat.
You forgot BJ McLeod with the orange number font.
Yes, that one too.
Yeah.
That's my top 5. We love you, BJ.
Yeah, BJ's the best.
But BJ's the perfect dark horse. And
also, to clear this up, because of this conversation we just had, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was not eligible as a dark horse.
Yes, I know we've talked a lot about who's a dark horse, who's not. We both came on before this episode and was like, he's not. And I tried
to finagle Keenan into letting me have Brad as a dark horse since he's 31st in points, but that was shot down.
The number 1 driver in active race wins on a track, dark horse. Yeah, give me a break.
Listen, I try to find loopholes where I can. That's all I'm saying.
Well, who did you find to win?
I found Justin Haley. Does have a super speedway win. I will never forgive him for it because I think Jimmy Johnson wins that race if the rain doesn't happen. Anyway, Justin Haley, I think, is a very, very solid plate racer. Spires look better the last couple weeks. Granted, They did just send his entire pit crew to Kyle Larson 2 weeks ago, and today they jettisoned Rodney Childers. So who knows what's happening with the 7 car, but I think Justin Haley is good enough to make do anyway. So give me Spire to victory lane for the first time this year.
I don't hate that. I almost went with the Spire car myself on Michael McDowell, but then I was like, you know what's better than Michael McDowell? The 34 Lowe's car, which you're thinking that is Michael McDowell. No, it's not.
That's just the Love's car.
Not in these 10 races.
Not the Lowe's car.
Oh, yeah, Love's.
The Lowe's car has been dead for many years.
The Love's car.
I'm very sad about it.
But I'm taking his replacement, Todd Gillen. A little younger, a little faster, kind of like Jackson Storm to Lightning McQueen.
The Todd father.
The Todd father, indeed. I'm taking him at Talladega.
It's an offer I can't refuse.
It's a Ford. That's what it is. It's a Ford. So
actually, Justin Haley is the only non-Ford of our 4 picks.
Yeah. So, which I didn't even, do that with Todd Gillen.
Can I put Justin Haley in a Ford? Is that legal?
You
actually,
can only.
Hold up. Give me a second.
He's about to find a Ford.
I'm changing my pick for the dark horse. Cody Ware drives a Ford. No. But shout out for Cody Ware. He's now extended the gap on Jimmy Johnson to 11 points in the championship.
Yow!
Killing it. Almost a full stage point ahead of a guy who ran 1 race.
Yeah.
Although, one thing to keep an eye on. Do we think Jimmy Johnson repasses Cody Ware when he races the Coke 600?
No. Well, no. Yes, I think he repasses him for like 2 races, but then,
It's a battle for the ages, folks.
Yeah. That's what we'll be looking for in the Coke 600. Not Kyle Larson doing the double feature.
I'll be there. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be excellent fun. And this week it'll be very fun. We'll both be at Talladega.
My first time at Talladega.
I'm excited for him. If you've never been, it's just like I don't want to say like
I've been wanting to go for years.
Yeah, I don't want to say like it's like a religious type experience, but it really is.
For NASCAR fans, it almost is.
It's crazy the feeling you get just like seeing, because like you've been to Daytona and that's big, but just seeing that like the little bit extra.
Like the difference is you walk into Daytona, and I feel like that's more similar to walking into say Le Mans or Monaco. It's like a temple of just general motorsport.
No,
whereas
this
Talladega
is sand,
like
dirt, concrete. Yeah. Like Daytona has buildings around it that make the track look smaller. There was nothing around Talladega to make it look small. It is the biggest thing there by there's nothing there. There was literally nothing around it. And it's hard to explain if you haven't been there, but the people who have been there know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm excited for you.
One thing for Daytona though, Talladega has not been hit by a Sharknado while Brad Keselowski looked up at the sky.
But didn't Talladega have Transformers?
Oh, it did.
Yeah. It was cooler, in my opinion.
This is a good debate now.
Yeah.
Would you rather have the Sharknado?
Next episode. NASCAR Sharknado, NASCAR Transformers, or the forgotten NASCAR Looney Tunes Back in Action with Jeff Gordon.
Who forgets that?
I don't know. We're getting old now. It's probably the kiddos.
Yeah. Listen, the
kiddos.
I just love how NASCAR every Easter Sunday nostalgia farms and the Who Got These Chocolate NASCARs as a kid. It's every year.
Yeah,
they post it every year.
We all did.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting off the rails, so we're gonna let y'all go. But make sure you watch Talladega. Tune in next week to our race recap and all of our other races with F1 and there are other sports.
Back on the grind. Back doing it as normal. We'll have a F1 race to preview again next week. No episode for Saudi because it's already so late in the week that we figured it wouldn't really be as timely for y'all. But Leclerc podium, so hooray for that. And one thing I would have said is Oscar Piastri is now my F1 championship favorite because Lando Norris keeps putting it in walls. But that is it for today. Thank you for tuning in to GTD. If you do want to get some other content from us this week, we do have an MLB episode out with our picks for all the awards that we were going to do 2 weeks ago. They got pushed back. But anyway, if you still want to tune in, those were unchanged from 2 weeks ago, so they can still be kind of interesting. So check that out as well. But for now, that's Keegan. I'm Micah. This has been GTD. We will see y'all next week.